are both going to be coming up and answering our questions. So you see, we have the legal side covered and we have the pastoral side covered. So if your question is legal, you're free to ask. If it's from the pastoral point of view, you are free. So with a clap offering unto the Lord, let us make welcome Reverend Yemi and Pastor Sindele Adedeji. Hallelujah. And also, without wasting time, we have the anchor for today is not me. We have, a powerful anchor for today, Bishop, engineer, whatever it is that you want to call him, Pastor Pat Ativi. Can they take this off this place?
Praise the Lord. You're very much welcome to this session. We have a few questions and we'll crack on. We have a list of questions already set, but if you have some questions, feel free. If there's time, we may squeeze one or two. So we'll go straight to the task. Sir, you're welcome, sir. Thank you. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you.
I have question one here. Someone has written, said, before we got married, I had a lady friend who is like my sister, as we have known for many years. She's also married, but we are still close. I share my deepest thoughts and concerns with her. Even some I haven't told my wife. My wife is uncomfortable with it, but I think she's just being unnecessarily jealous. Please, sir, what do you think about it?
Thank you. Before I answer any questions, permit me to say a big congratulations to the commissioners for this great day, for this great work, for this amazing thing in which they are doing. I also want to say a very big congratulations to my friend and the host and the pastor of the house, Pastor Sam, for an amazing job that he's doing. And the truth is, if Pastor is doing great, it's because his wife allowed him to. So, to the glory of God, help me to salute and congratulate the real father and mother of the day. Excellency. And thanks, my brother. Thanks for coming from Nigeria and all of that. Back to your questions. And everyone here, I'm not sure. The person that asked the question happens to be a man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm just checking. I'm not sure whether. Let me answer it honestly.
She has become like a sister.
Oh, no, wait. Let me answer it honestly. The challenge there is, if I'm going to be honest with the guy, you are playing on a very dangerous path. Because the moment you start sharing the close emotional stuff with another woman, you almost asking that woman to be the clutch, which you hold on to. And women being women, they like being mothers. And the more you show her attention by engaging, by relating, by going, it develops into a friendship beyond more than a friend. The bottom line is, the very best friend you can have in life should be your wife. So if it's outside your wife, number one, it's almost like you deny your wife a right, marital right. And also, I don't think the lady should actually take that on. The lady should have said, you know what, it's great for you to want to share with me, but will it be great if you share this with your wife? That would have been the nice thing to do. Because it's a dangerous part. Emotion, somewhere along the line, is going to mix. And when emotion mixes, it's going to be dangerous. So my advice to the guy, stop it.
Thank you, sir. Any input, ma?
Is it on? Yes. Okay. I'm going to be brief. It's clear what God has put together, let no man put asunder. Now, marriage is between a man and a woman, and the problem that a lot of people have when they get married is that they forget that you and your wife have to be best friends. Anybody else has to fall in line in their own pecking order. You see, adultery is not only when you become intimate with another person. It's when you do something you're supposed to do with your partner with another woman. Now, if you don't feel close enough to your wife to share your intimate problems, your intimate concerns, then you need to recheck yourself and wonder whether you've made the right choice. And the woman on the other side as well. I believe nowadays women have the tendency not to respect themselves when it comes to relationships with men. If a man is married and he wants to be your friend, you say to him first, may I know your wife? If you don't have an agenda and you want to be honest, you have to get to know his wife. And if you and his wife don't click, then, you know, that doesn't happen. But a man cannot pick up a phone and start talking to another woman, a third party, and telling her his innermost secrets. Number one, I'm a woman. If a man pays me attention and tells me his intimate secrets, there are two things that might happen. I might not be interested in him, and I might fall in love with him because he's given me that level of intimacy with him, because it is intimacy. So what the young man needs to do is to speak to that lady and say, I don't think we can continue this relationship. It's counter to the relationship with my wife. Whatever he has to say, he needs to tell it to his wife. And it ends there.
Awesome.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question has to do with social issues. It said children in primary schools in England are to begin receiving lessons in homosexual and single-sex marriages as proposed by the government. What can we as fathers, Christian fathers, do to keep them in the way and yet not confuse them or confuse their young minds?
Okay, I'm going to ask my wife to go first.
Oh, dear. Well, to be honest with you, in dealing with these issues, we have to be very subtle. We have to be as cunning as a fox and as sly as a snake. In as much as you don't want anyone to teach your children about homosexuality, you look at another angle. Okay, you can say my child is below the age of 9. Let my children have a childhood. Let them discover these things as we discovered them, as we stumbled upon them. And it's a very strong argument when you're protecting the minds of your children. Because at the end of the day, I want my children to be children. I don't want them to know about intimate relations when they're 6 years old. In as much as I wouldn't discuss intimate relations between heterosexuals with my child at 6, I have no intention to discuss homosexuality with them when they're 6. I read a book many years ago. It's called The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. And she was a Jewish lady. She and her family were in hiding during the Second World War. And she said something that was most profound. Her father was carrying a suitcase. And she said, Daddy, let me help you carry this suitcase. Her father said, no. She was insistent. So what he did was he said, okay, carry the suitcase. She tried to carry the suitcase. She couldn't lift it. And her father said to her, you can't lift the suitcase. Not all knowledge, not all things will be available to you as a child. As you get older, you develop the strength, the mental strength, and you're able to take it. My issue with teaching children homosexuality is that they're too young. They're too young because they're still, we were young as well. And we remembered how we stumbled over where did babies come from. So now you want to confuse them the more. Let them stumble on it. Nowadays, there's social media. When we were growing up, there was no social media. Whatever you read it in the paper, you heard it on the news, or you went into a library. So my argument, and I've spoke about this as well in another church, if you have objections to it as Christians, you need to learn to stand up and show your objections. You know, Muslims are standing out and objecting, but it's the way you deal with it. You say to them, I want my children to have a childhood. Every child legally deserves a childhood. And that's the argument, and that's the ground where you can win a case and stop them teaching them that in law.
Okay. There is what we can do as Christians, and there's what we can do because of the position of law. By next year, you cannot actually take your child out of school when they are teaching this. You are compelled to leave your child, or your child will be excluded because it's part of the curriculum of what they've put as part of the school knowledge. Now, here it is. Couple of things we could do. There's a political advocacy angle whereby the believers could challenge that. Right now, whether we win or not, that's another case. The other bit is we might start a situation where we start to educate our children ourselves rather than allowing that to be in the context of things. But that is we're looking at the surface value. But now let's look at the current context of social level of the children, of particularly the generation Z and the alpha generation of nowadays. Let us be honest with ourselves. Statistics says at 6 years old has seen more pornography than all of us. That's what the statistics says, right? Because they were born inside the womb with an iPhone. So by the time most 2-3 year old, if you have children at home, you've already given them iPad, you've already given them iPhone, right? They don't need to ask for your permission to see what they see. And then if they don't see, their friends, their mates, they have seen it. And it has been proven time and time that a 6-year-old has seen more pornography, has seen more all of that than any one of us. So what do we then need to do as a parent is that we must not be ignorant and think that their worldview is equal to our own worldview. So we must start a subtle education by engaging with them, or else the comms of the world or the school or whatever has been laid out outside there, we create their own normal. We as parents have to create that normal with them by engaging with them, by conversing with them, by knowing the limits, by not exposing them to too much, but by teaching them from a position of Christian education rather than anything else.
Thank you, sir. Are you saying we have a biology class with a 6-year-old?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you have a biology child, because part of that is to get to school yourself. As a parent, I don't have, my youngest child is 18, so I've gone past that. but if I have a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, you have the right to go to school to say, what are you teaching them? Let me see the curriculum or stuff like that. And then you can counter narrative expression of what they are teaching them by what you teach them back at home. So that you don't allow what they teach them become the formative order. So you create your own narrative back from home.
Thank you, sir.
I was just going to say that it's very, very important that you get involved in your children's education. When I say that, I mean you can become a school governor. School governors vote in a lot of the decisions that are made in the school. That's where you have power. And it seems as if within our community, we've been very slow to do that. So it's another way of dealing with these issues. Having the power to say, no, yes, we are not saying the children can't be taught it, but they must be at a later stage. Maybe when they get to the 5th year or something, but not at this. Because what we don't have is power. We can say to ourselves that as Christians, the Bible doesn't allow for it. And remember, these children are quite smart. So you're telling your child about something, they say, excuse me, you've been taking me to church since I was 2. And now you're telling me to do something that God said we shouldn't do. So we have to pray for wisdom, most importantly, on how to deal with these matters. And also empower ourselves to make decisions, become counselors. You know, become school governors, get involved in the power so that when we make these decisions, you know, we've got these massive churches all over United Kingdom, but we have no power, no political power, but we've got the numbers. So it's high time people start getting involved in where we can make our decisions heard and where we can sway. You know, the LGBT agenda was something that was unheard of 10 years ago. They worked hard for them to be recognized, as individuals, for homosexuality to be recognized. The Christians have been doing nothing. All we do is sit down and say, God said, God did. What are you working at? What lobbies are you doing? Have you gone to your member of parliament? Where have you gone to put your own side across? You see, that's the problem. We shy under religion, whereby, okay, fine, in Birmingham, Muslim parents have come out. They're not homophobic. They're just saying that they don't want their children to be taught that at a younger age because it's contrary to the way they brought up their children. I haven't seen one Christian say that. And that's where we should be bold, because greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Amen. Who will you fear?
Amen. Thank you so much. The next question, sir, is I think is well suited to you, sir. How can a man make himself relevant in our world, and how do I find my purpose? I know it's a book.
Okay, that's is for a man, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The thing about it is, what makes a man, a man, is your ability to lead your home. But your ability to lead your home is also a function of distinctive understanding of your purpose in life. Your purpose is like an arrowhead that guides you where you go, what you do, and what you become. Now, the challenge for most men is, it's possible for them not to have a clear understanding of where they are going. Maybe not to have a vision. Purpose is still a bigger thing, because vision changes over a period of time. But when you see a man that is clued up, clear, determined of what he wants to do, what he wants to become, he voices it out onto his family and to the people around. So he's saying to his family, I remember when we still live in a council estate with my wife, I'll keep saying, we're going to move out of here. We're going to move into our own house. We're going to have our own house. We're going to do whatever. So you begin to build understanding and vision for the people you are leading, because as a man, you are actually leading. So you might know, I remember the early days we used to walk through people eating in the restaurant, and they're not really sophisticated restaurant, but the only thing we could afford then would be a corner shop to get some kebabs, and then we'll be eating our kebabs on the road. So I'll be telling my wife, one day we'll go to this kind of a restaurant. We two will sit down in a candlelit and whatever. So you are building that vision. You are building that vision onto them. Right? And then he goes on and on and on like that. You might start with a rickety old car. You see a nice car pass. You say, one day you're going to buy this kind of a car. You're going to do all of that. So you are building, and as you're building the vision and the capacity, over time your wife might not believe you. But when he begins to see that small things are becoming a little bit achievable, then the wife starts to believe that actually you know what you are doing and you know where you are going. It's also a function of who do you identify yourself with, who do you engage with, who do you hang out with. Who you hang out with will determine whether you go up in life, you remain where you are, or you keep going down.
Thank you, sir.
It's so important who you hang out. If the people you are hanging out with makes you feel like a superstar, you are dead. Most of the time, the people you hang out with must make you feel like, I haven't arrived. I still got a lot to do. Because every single step you take in improving yourself enlarges your capacity in life. But it's a function of who you are hanging out. Who is talking to you? Who are you listening to? Who are you hanging and spending your time with? Will determine how your life is shaped as a man. And how your life is shaped as an individual will now determine how your life is shaped as a person who is married to a woman, and how you lead your own family. And when your children see that my dad has a purpose, he knows where he's going, he knows this is happening and stuff like that, they start to believe in the man as the father, and the wife start to believe in the man as the husband, and then you begin to take the lead in the right way it's supposed to be. It's just a function of tweaking ourselves a little bit. Who are you listening to? Who are you hanging around with? What are you reading? In which capacity are you in which rivers are you swimming? Who is challenging you? Who is provoking you? Who is bringing the best out of you? One of my greatest provocator in my life is this woman. My wife. when I think I've arrived, you don't know. I mean, Pastor Sam, you must have experienced that. When you think you've preached a good message in the church, and you are going back home, you are feeling good. She just tapped me and said, you are so rubbish in some of them. I said, come on, let me enjoy for at least for a few hours until I get home. But you know what? Everybody sees all of that, but she sees you can improve. You can get better. You can move ahead. So she digs it at me. So at times I have to beg her, let Monday pass. Monday, tell me on Monday so that I can enjoy. So it's about being open to the truth, and the truth that can hurt, but the truth that can make you better.
Thank you very much, sir. This next question sort of toes on what he just said. It's a question from someone that says, I know as a father I should provide for my home, but my present job does not cover the family outgoings. My wife helps when she can. I cannot but help but feel inadequate and unfulfilled. I've held on in faith, trusting God for change for a long time, but this is taking so long. What should I do?
Who are you asking? Me or my wife?
I'm asking you, ma.
Okay, so this is a man.
He's a man. He's feeling inadequate. He understands his role. And feels that change is not coming as soon as it should.
I'm sure we've been in that position before, haven't we? There are times when you used to hand more money. Not that I felt inadequate. I never did. So I'm just guiding you the way you answer that question, so that you don't. You can answer now.
To be honest, if you have a good woman beside you, there's no reason for you to feel inadequate, because life is a journey. You have to start from somewhere. When you start, if I go back to when I met my husband, I saw him as a man with dreams. He was always talking about what he was going to do or what he was going to become. And that was what attracted me to him, that he had a vision for himself, though he didn't have money. So, but that did not make me see him any less as a man. You look at a man's potential. I think with this gentleman, he needs to have a conversation with his wife. It takes a long time, especially if you live in England, to get to where you want to get to. We've come from so far. I remember Yemi used to work in a warehouse. Can you imagine that? And he was always going into the toilet to fall asleep. And he will come home and I will encourage him. And I used to make beds in a hotel. And that's why anytime I stay in a hotel, I always tip the chambermaids, because I used to be one. And I remember one day, meeting an American man who said, you're so eloquent. I hope this is not what you do for a living. I said, no, I'm only passing through. And those are the words I will use for that gentleman. He's only passing through. Though it may tarry, it will come to pass. But another thing people need to do is to be savvy when they look for work. I know some people will buy a paper, apply to adverts, start networking. Start moving with people. Join associations. If you're interested in something, you need the network. England is no different from Nigeria. Some of the best jobs you ever get, you get them because you kind of know somebody who knows the person who remembered you and mentioned you. So in as much as the low jobs is easy to get. But if you want to move high, you want to become a high flyer, you have to have your set of friends. You have to have people who will make you punch higher. So it's good to pray to God and say, oh God, I want a new job. But you need to move, get into action. Once you move, your faith builds up and God takes action. But interact with people. If you say you want to work in, you want to be an accountant, look for someone in the church who is an accountant. Let that person mentor you. Go for all these meetings. Get yourself involved. He needs to build himself up, and he needs also to have a conversation with his wife to let his wife know how he's feeling. Because there may be issues with the relationship as well. But a man, no matter what we say, I'm a Yoruba. In Yoruba land, we say, there is nothing like a man with no honor. So even if your husband is poor, he will be rich one day. But as a woman, you have to feed their ego, encourage them. Even when they look broken, you have to lift them up. When they do wrong, you have to tell them up. And you, again, network as well for your husband. See, if he's not happy, start seeing if you can find something. Speak to people who work in the field that he works in. I think that's most important. But as I've said, he really, really needs to start doing the hard work, the hard grind. If I had stayed a chambermaid and I hadn't decided that I wanted to move on by networking and moving with people in the field I wanted to get in, I'll still be making beds. So, as the Chinese say, one step is the beginning of 1,000,000 miles. He needs to step out of his comfort zone and start looking. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is also touching on a social issue, and it's the right question for you, sir. What tips do you have, sir, to help integrate into the British society? And this person says, I do not have any Caucasian friends apart from light acquaintances at work.
What about pub? The best place to get acquaintances is go to pubs. When you go to pub, you understand the local context of where you are locally to start with. Right? You start to make friends. See, friends are not going to come to you until you make yourself friendly.
Are we encouraging the men to go into
pubs?
To pubs at night?
I go to pubs a lot. Because where would Jesus go if Jesus isn't today in this world? You think Jesus is going to stay in the church? He never stayed in synagogue. Go and read your Bible very well. Jesus hung around places that you never think that Jesus will hang out. Jesus meeting the woman at the well. Do you think Jesus say, praise God, hallelujah? I'm sure Jesus will have said, babes, what's up, man? He's because Jesus contextualized. Jesus, his purpose and his intention was more about reaching out to people, and you want to engage with them by conversation.
So I guess it's a mindset, because the Bible says we shouldn't unequally yoked with unbelievers.
No, but you are not equally yoked. You are an influencer. You are an influencer. You have purpose. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. Right? I'm an influencer. I might not even say anything, but by the virtue of what I carry and who I am, it makes people to ask questions. Because oftentimes we talk a lot without asking questions. What helps a lot when you are engaging with people is to ask questions. When you ask questions, you will understand at what level do you engage with them. Because if I'm just talking to you, I might be talking this way and you are this way. So I will never communicate. So, but by asking questions, how are you? How's your family? How are you doing? We're doing a kitchen in our house. So we have the builders that will come in. So I begin to ask them questions. A guy came to pick table the other day, and we were talking. Then until he asked me the question, what do you do really? You have to take them to the place where they ask you, what do you do? You don't say, what do I do? So that you want to brag yourself. So when they are asking, what do you do? That means they have discovered something about you that is unique, that is different, that they want to tap into. And then that then open up opportunity for you to begin to declare who you are and what you are. And we don't engage with people because of what we want from them. We engage with people because we want to serve them. It's a lot of difference. It's not what I want to get from you, but it's what I want to do for you. Because if I'm engaging with you because of what I want to get from you, I turn myself to a beggar, and I'm easily manipulated. So, but if I'm engaging you because of what I want to do for you, with you, we are operating from a leverage capacity. And so it's not a rocket science in terms of engaging with people. You see people on the street, on the road, and stuff like that. It's a common conversation. It's an intentional thing. So you think within yourself. If I look at my life, started out to go to a church that's all black, all Africans, until God stopped me in my track and asked me the question, why do you think you are in this country? Do you think you are in this country for the folks? Which is nothing wrong about it. And then God began to deconstruct my mindset that you are not here for this. You are here because you need to deconstruct or disengage to re-engage in a new context. And that was a long journey for me. That was why I became an Anglican priest. Because if I want to influence in this country, I will not influence as much if I remain a Pentecostal pastor. So by an Anglican priest, he opened up the whole wide doors for me into different diverse world, different capacity, without losing my identity of who I am. I can still engage. As a matter of fact, I gained twice. I am still who I am, but I am who you are. And then by then I can engage in that context. So it's about understanding all of that. The whole of this week I have a lot of conferences I'm speaking. None of them is for us.
It's just like Paul being
everything. So I'm here today. Maybe was it last week or yesterday? I was somewhere. I will be in my full robes. It doesn't matter wherever you are. You be whatever you want to be to everybody you want to be. So it's about, without taking it longer, it's about knowing the purpose and the reason why you are where you are and why God has called you. Because if you know the purpose, He will challenge you to make friends, to relate, to engage, because you are on God's agenda and you are on God's assignment. It's bigger than you who wants to settle within yourself.
Thank you very, very much, sir. We're passing for time. The next question, Ma. Someone's written, said, I love my wife and family, but there are times I feel there is still a lot out there for me to enjoy. Is this a legitimate feeling or something I need to be worried about? Things to enjoy like going out with friends, going to the pub, carnivals. How do I stay in line?
Take your wife with you.
Have you got any input, Ma?
That when we become Christians, we always change. Just like when my husband mentioned pub just now, so we went, where do you meet friends? You meet friends when you socialize. So you see, with this man, it's only normal that you have a feeling sometimes in marriage, because marriage takes a lot of discipline. That, oh, you know, I'm stuck with this person. I want to go out. I want to go out with my friends. I want to enjoy myself. Between he and his wife, they should have an agreement whereby he can go out. It's about trust. You know, I'm not saying a man of a certain age should go clubbing, because that's when you're looking for trouble. But if you're out with the boys, going to watch a football match, just going out generally, a man is entitled to have a social life, despite the fact that he's married. He doesn't have to sit in the house all the time and stare at his wife.
You know why? Because anytime I stay in the house with her, she said to me, go and get a hobby. She said, you are staying in the life, go and play golf, do something. Why are you always in the house?
In fact, you have just spoken a cue to the very next question. The very next question says, my wife always wants to control all that I do. But when I try to do the same to her, she resists vehemently. Although I've tried to talk this over with her several times, but I have not noticed any positive change.
He's not a wise man. A wise man should understand that your wife is always right.
Well, that's on African.
Oh, well, you have to, you know, babes, you know, the way it works is this, you know.
That's very un-African.
But it's African wisdom, it works. Because you agree that you are always right and I'm always wrong. But I'll still do what I want to do.
It's like you are trying to pacify her, sir. It's like you're trying to pacify her.
Pacify her. I've been doing that for 28 years. You know, but in real terms, I think it's always there's always that tension. It depends on the personality and the way each one of us has been brought up. Some are brought up to be able to engage fully. You know, some women are very heavy loaded in terms of having their men with them all of the time. Some are like, you can do whatever you want to do. But it's trying to find the balance between that so that you don't either overbear or underbear. And it's also part of discussion, whether you do some stuff together or oftentimes it might just be that you want to be alone on each other. It's understanding each other, but it takes time.
Praise the Lord. And finally, it says in this ever-evolving world where the roles and importance of men is being undermined or attacked, how can we as men reposition ourselves in a way that we ensure we fulfill God's mandate for our lives? Being a priest, being a provider, and obviously with this women agenda going on, pushing men to the background, and poor pay, even with the BBC and everything going on.
Okay, the real issue here is the way manhood is seen here in UK is different between the way manhood is seen in the developing countries. For example, in Nigeria. Now, back home in Nigeria, a man is a man. Ideally, should be responsible, do all of that sort of things and things like that. But here, if you understand that a man he almost has to do a double effort. If a man and a woman apply for a job together, the possibility of the woman getting the job is much more higher than the man. In UK, right? Research has proved it. Because women are more favored in many things in this part of the world. So a man has to double the effort. And then there are opportunities that are more open to women than it is open to men. A man cannot go and take a house, it's a woman that will go and take a house. If there's so many things that are open to women, much man...
This easily spills into the family.
It spills, but that is where the challenge comes from.
Women are earning
exactly.
more.
So that is why. So the role of manhood has already been is almost near eroded. So what then happens as time goes on is, as it continues, is eroding the manhood little by little. And men being men will start to get settled until the whole leadership of the house or of the family is now centered strongly on the woman. So the role is now reversed. So the society, the world we live in, more or less allow that to happen. So it now takes a man who understands his call, his assignment, his position, to say to himself that I will not let that happen. I will still be the leader, the provider that does all those things. Because if you see a young couple when they just get married, in most cases, the woman will hand more than the man. And there's always that tension there when you bring 50, I bring 50. A woman never respects a man on a long run if you are doing 50-50. Let me tell you, men, it doesn't work. Women are not designed by God to hand income to take care of the house. I wish women should say amen to that one. It's a man's responsibility. But in most homes, you will see that they share the mortgage, they share the bill, they share all of that. There's nothing wrong with that in the early stage. But it should not be the formative order that shapes and controls the life of that family for the rest. I remember clearly the day my brother said to me, are you sharing mortgage with your wife? I said, bring her own, I bring my own. My brother said, no. You will never hand respect until you become a man. A man means you take responsibility. You take charge. Pay the bills. Pay everything. You might not hand much, but this is how I can hand. And we were in America together in February. The first day I got there, my brother took me out. Have you given your wife money? I said, what do you mean? This is London. London, you whatever. He drove me to the bank. He said, withdraw money. I said, but he said, withdraw money. So I withdraw money, good money. So reluctantly, when I got home, I gave babes, this is just to bless you. I didn't bless her. I was operating under his instruction. I gave her the money. She was kissing my forehead and everything. So later my brother said, didn't I tell you? Women, money, your problem is solved.
Any final words, man?
The only thing is that we confuse manhood. We live in England. In England, manhood is different. A man takes care of his family, and he and their wife, they share the bills. It's cultural difference. And then we have our own culture whereby the man takes care of the woman. But the problem is that when African men come to London, They want to live like Europeans, or they want the respect that they get in Africa. Those two don't work.
You lot see, I think you should feel sorry for me for the last 28 years.
No, you know the reason why I'm saying that is I saw my parents, and my mother throughout the marriage earned more than my father. But my father would always make sure he paid his bills. You know, he'll give my mother housekeeping. He doesn't care what that covers, but he'll give it to her. And I remember that my mother would kneel down in front of my father and call him father. So that is what a husband is. Even if you don't earn a lot of money. You see, a lot of English men give their wives their pay packet. Not because they earn a lot, because, okay, I don't earn enough, let me give it to the missus. She'll give me some pocket money and she'll manage the bills. You see, that is what they do. And, you know, I have great respect for them because they do it and it works. I believe every marriage, something works for them. You must find what works for you. What may work for me and Yemi may not work for you and your husband. Every marriage has its own medium. But I'll say one thing to you women. Don't disrespect your men because they don't have money. You didn't marry him because of his wealth.
Thank you.
You married him because you loved him. You know, you married him because you loved him. And at the end of the day, when you have problems in marriage, it's not money that solves it, it's the love you have for each other. It is very, very important. I always say, yes, money helps. But I tell people that if you've not journeyed with your husband, you know, what has made me love my husband more is that I've known him when he was a struggling man. And, you know, and now I know him. And I've seen him. I think it's a beautiful thing as a woman. Let's believe that our men will be successful in whatever they are going to become. He doesn't have to be wealthy, but see, to make a man happy, encourage him. You know, I have a friend at work who said her husband said all he wants to be is a painter decorator. And she wasn't happy. I said, encourage him. You know, show him the newfangled things he can do. Let him be the best painter and decorator there is ever around here. Encourage them and empower them. Because as women, we have life and death in our tongues when it comes to our husbands. If you curse your husband, you're cursing yourself and your children. Oh, you know, always, always, always pray for them. Encourage them because they have egos. And their egos are so big in the sense that you have to, you know, polish it. Yeah. Thank you. Well,
Thank you very much. Please, let's give a big hand to Reverend Yemi and Reverend Mrs. as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Please keep clapping. Please, can we be on our feet, please? Please keep clapping. Thank you very much.